Hello folks and welcome back to the channel. Today I have something a little different. I'm gonna open up this Bachmann 00 gauge 2AO locomotive and install a speaker and a Econami UK Steam sound decoder into the tender. It's a pretty simple job, but I figured I'd document the process and show you how I do it. Let's go ahead and get started. First we take our trusty foam and we carefully place it over the model and flip it over very carefully. Now, underneath the chassis of the tender there are only two screws that you really need to worry about, and they're in the corners. So you might notice there's no coal here. This originally came with this die-cast piece of molded coal that would sit in there. I took it off because I plan on putting real coal in there. Let's go ahead and very carefully move that. So this is what awaits you inside. This is going to be a little different from what you will actually see on a new model, because I've already gone into here and messed with a few things. For one, these two wires are soldered to the speaker pads on the motherboard that this comes with. I already preemptively did that in preparation for this whole thing. Let's see. This black goo, this little black adhesive, was actually holding down the wires underneath the weights, if I remember correctly. It wasn't doing anything else. It was just a little booger of adhesive. So we can take a look. So it has this capacitor here, going to a plus and a minus on the motherboard. This is actually going to get replaced with a Train Control Systems KA2 is what I've decided. And here we have the blanking plate, or I don't know how you know, the thing that makes it run on DC when you're not using a proper decoder. So we're not going to use this anymore. So you have your motherboard there. Should be easy enough to just pop in any old 21-pin decoder. Actually have one here. This is one of my extra Train Control Systems TCS Wow Steam decoders. This isn't the one I'm using, but it's sitting in front of me, so I'm just using it as a demonstration. So it would fit in just fine. Next, to make room for the speaker, these metal plates have to be removed. And then underneath those plates you can see the wires, the bundle of wires that goes from the locomotive, from the motor and the pickups under the driving wheels to the motherboard itself. And they're all tucked in under there pretty well. The plan is to get a scale sound system speaker that will fit here, that's fairly flat, and KeepAlive will go underneath this portion of the front of the tender. We're going to go ahead and wire up the KeepAlive and the speakers, and we'll give it a test run and see how it sounds and see how it performs. I've never used an Econami decoder before, so this is going to be exciting. So here you can see we have all of our parts necessary for this installation in front of us. We have the Train Control Systems KeepAlive, the KA2 specifically. We have the Scale Sound Systems Full Force Range speaker. This is a rectangular model. Very nice. And we have the decoder itself, the Soundtraxx Econami UK Steam decoder. We're just going to tuck this away, put it off to the side. It's going to get wrapped up in tape in this captain tape later. First I'm going to go ahead and install the KeepAlive. First we really have to remove the shell of the tender. With the tender shell removed, I'm going to remove the motherboard from the chassis to make it a little easier to solder in these wires onto these very small pads on this motherboard. Off camera I already removed the capacitor that came with the model. Per the TCS KeepAlive instructions, blue is the positive and the black and white wire are the negative. And I'm going to match those to the motherboard, which is clearly marked with a plus and minus sign for positive and negative. Simple enough. Next up, we're going to do the speaker. And using my third hand, I'm going to hold the speaker wires in place while I solder the wires to the speaker pads. Sometimes you have to add a little extra solder to the wires. But once that's in place, it should be a sturdy connection. And we'll just go ahead and quickly do the other one. And with that, the KeepAlive and the speaker are fully connected to the motherboard. We can go ahead and put the motherboard back into the chassis. Next, I'm going to very carefully twist the KeepAlive to get the wires nice and tidy. I'm going to do the same thing with the speaker. Now, stock, the model comes with provisions for a 20mm by 40mm speaker in the tender. It comes with a little mounting plate and some screws that go in place of the weight that we removed earlier. Since I'm not going with that size speaker, and I'm going with this scale sound system speaker, I am just going to dab some silicone adhesive onto these wheel fenders and place the speaker there. And once the adhesive dries, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to dab it on with a toothpick. This clear silicone adhesive dries in about 24 hours, so it gives you plenty of time to reposition things as necessary. And we're going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of the speaker and put the current keeper right back there. And then we'll just tuck the wires in and make sure they're under the shell. After a day of drying, we can go ahead and install the Econami decoder. But first, what I like to do with my decoders is wrap them in captain tape. This is an insulating tape that'll protect the decoder from any random shortages if something happens to touch a component. It's just a little extra insurance that I like to do to all my decoders. And with the decoder wrapped in tape, I'm going to install it. And it's just a press fit, making sure the pins are all the right way. But there's really only one way to do it. And finally, we're going to install the tender shell. I went ahead and put a 1/4 ounce wheel weight into the ceiling of the tender there, and making sure it has plenty of clearance. It does, so I've already checked it. Just adds a little more weight to the tender. But once the tender shell is on, we can go ahead and flip the model over and reinstall the screws that hold the shell together. This is where a magnetic screwdriver really comes in handy. So here we have the locomotive on the track, powered up. I have my NCE power cab up and running, and I'm going to go through all the functions. I'll throw it on the rolling road and we'll go through the exhaust chuffs in a separate section. But I'm going to go ahead and run through the functions. There'll be chapters down in the description below if you want to jump around. But here are the functions of this UK Steam Econami decoder from Soundtraxx. Let's unmute and hear how it sounds. So that is what the decoder sounds like right out of the box, minus a volume adjustment. It was set at 192 for the master, and I think all the volumes subsequently are at 192 out of 255. So I went ahead and lowered both the master and the whistle volume to about 40, and it's a little quieter now, which is not a bad thing. I'm going to go ahead and go through all the chuffs now, and then I'll go through the whistles. You can skip around down below in the chapters if you want to hear the differences. So the running road is generally not a great way to understand how smoothly a locomotive will run, especially at slower speeds. So I put a very small strip of test track. Let's just see how it runs in 128 speed steps. Uh, the first speed step, first 1 or 2 speed steps. Not bad. It's not the slowest, but honestly, I'll take it. I'm more interested in smooth transitions between speed steps. This seems to have it. The model is definitely quieter too than while on the rolling road. That's something I should have mentioned before. This nice hard table surface with the metal rollers on plastic tubing amplifies any and all motor noise, but even just being on the track on the hard surface, it's much quieter. And for fun, let's clock in how long that KeepAlive keeps the locomotive alive. And there you have it. Well, that's going to do it for this one. I want to thank you all so much for joining me here on the channel. And I hope you enjoyed this look at the Econami UK Steam decoder. It's kind of an unusual one to do, but I feel like there's not a whole lot of real-world examples out there of this decoder, and I wanted to showcase it a little bit, as ordering a custom sound project from overseas in the UK is a little bit expensive for me right now. But this was a great way to go ahead and fit in a speaker and a decoder and a current keeper and just kind of show you the process, at least how I do it. I also need to adjust the chuff rate. It's currently not at 4 chuffs per revolution, which that's an easy fix. I'll load this up into Decoder Pro later and adjust that myself. Along with that EQ, I think this is a great value for the money. I think I only paid about $63 for the decoder, and I'm happy to add sound to this wonderful Bachmann locomotive. A few more things for the future I'd like to do is add real coal to the tender. I also have some Model U resin figures coming in to drive this locomotive because the cab is beautiful, but it's also very empty, and I'd like to add some figures to drive it. That's it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and please consider subscribing and liking the video if you found it informative. Thank you so much.